Hey, what's up mortals? Zigzag here, and welcome to part 3 of What If Naruto Had a Leveling System. Just wanted to greet you guys and invite you to sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. And so, we begin. There stood a rogue shinobi, covered in bandages, carrying an enormous sword. This was the man known as Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist. Kakashi immediately recognized who he was. This wasn't an opponent he could hold back against if he valued his life, even in the slightest. You three are to stay behind me and protect Tazuna by all means necessary. I'll deal with this one. Do not get involved in this fight. Do I make myself clear? All 3 members of Team 7 nodded in understanding. They could feel the killing intent oozing off of the swordsman, and already knew he was bad news. They saw how easily he executed that other man, and at such a speed too. It was like he was just waiting for the opportunity to kill somebody. Kakashi didn't have to tell them twice to stay away from him. But Naruto wanted to test his strength. At his current level, he had a feeling that he wouldn't be able to really compete with the missing Nin. But could he injure him? Maybe. But outright give him a challenge? Let alone defeat him. Naruto wasn't the brightest kid in the classroom, but he knew a losing battle when he saw one. Kakashi lifted up his headband to reveal the eye he had been covering the entire time the trio knew him. The eye was glowing red with 3 Tomoe marks. Even in a world filled with distinct and powerful jutsu, this one was easily recognizable by everyone there. Kakashi Hatake wielded the Sharingan. Oh, the Sharingan, eh? Few people ever get to see it, let alone live to tell the tale. And I plan to keep it that way, Kakashi replied. Is that so? The Genin watched as 2 Jonin, the highest class of ninja, did battle before them. It was amazing to see. Amazing, but terrifying. Especially once their sensei was trapped in a water prison. Things got even worse when Zabuza made a clone of himself and sent it after the trio. Kakashi told them to run. They were tempted to do so, but Naruto reflected back on the statue incident. It was something he never wanted to go through again. Being weak. Running away would only continue to make him weaker. Even if he was acting idiotic here, Naruto stood his ground. He produced a large quantity of shadow clones who rushed at Zabuza's water clone. Zabuza's clone swung its sword through the shadow clones, cleaving a bunch of them in half. But some did make it through. The real Naruto turned to Sasuke and pulled out a Fuma shuriken from his bag. He placed the shuriken into Sasuke's hands and whispered a plan into the black-haired boy's ear. Sasuke's eyes widened when he heard just what Naruto had in mind. The idea sounded crazy, but there was a chance it could work. He was willing to work along with Naruto just this once to see this plan through. Once Zabuza's clone had been dealt with by the remaining shadow clones, it was just the real Zabuza left now. Sasuke flung the shuriken at the demon of the hidden mist, but the Jonin easily caught the shuriken out of the air. What he wasn't expecting was for a second shuriken to appear. These brats had actually pulled off a shadow shuriken technique. Zabuza jumped up into the air to dodge the second attack, but there was a third step to this plan. Naruto appeared from the shuriken and threw a kunai at Zabuza. Zabuza had no choice but to release the water prison jutsu if he wanted to avoid the shame of being harmed by a mere genin. He was now in a losing battle against the copy ninja. Kakashi even managed to turn one of Zabuza's own attacks against him, defeating the Kenjutsu shinobi. "Kakashi-sensei, take this!" Naruto yelled. Naruto threw a dagger with its blade wrapped up in bandages over to Kakashi. The silver-haired man quickly grabbed the dagger in midair and looked at it, confused for a moment. He wasn't the type to really use daggers, but when he unwrapped it, he realized it was the same one Naruto used on one of the demon brothers that immediately showed some terrifying effects. He supposed it was dipped in poison, but he had no idea where Naruto got the blade from. He'd question Naruto about it later. For now, he'd focus on ending Zabuza. He slashed at the other man's hand, and a cry of pain could be heard echoing over the battlefield. Zabuza's veins bulged out all over his body. His eyes looked like they would burst from their sockets. Kakashi could tell that Zabuza was going through torturous pain as he died. He felt a twinge of empathy for the Hidden Mist ninja, but the mission was to protect Tazuna, the bridge builder. And the mission came before anything else. Well, almost anything. "Come on, we have a mission to complete after all," Kakashi stated. Kakashi handed the dagger back to Naruto before questioning where he got it from. I kinda just found it one day." Naruto lied. He was a horrible liar. Kakashi could smell the lie from a mile away, but since Naruto didn't feel comfortable telling him where the dagger came from right now, he decided not to push it. He accepted Naruto's response, but he would get an answer out of the boy eventually. As for Tazuna, he had some explaining to do as well. He needed to explain why S-rank rogue ninja were being sent after him. But Kakashi didn't get the chance to ask Tazuna anything at that moment, because he lost consciousness and collapsed. Everyone was alarmed and wondered what had happened to him. Sasuke was the first to come up with an explanation for why their teacher collapsed the way he did. "There's a chance he may have fallen unconscious because of chakra exhaustion. He's not an Uchiha, yet he has a Sharingan. I don't know where he got it from. Is that anyone who isn't an Uchiha wielding a Sharingan experiences a constant chakra drain, considering they can't turn it off, and it gets worse when they use it in combat." "Wow, Sasuke, you're so smart!" Sakura cheered. Sasuke just ignored her though. He looked over to Naruto and asked him for help carrying Kakashi over to Tazuna's house. Naruto obliged and hauled one of Kakashi's arms over his shoulder. Sasuke did the same. On the way, Naruto noticed the system's window opening up, telling him that he had leveled up. There were a couple of points he had to distribute to different categories. After hearing what Sakura said about Sasuke, the blonde was feeling just a bit envious, and decided to deposit the majority of those points into his intelligence stats. He was expecting to become even smarter than Kakashi as those numbers continued to increase. He added a couple of points into strength as well, because there would be no point to having a high intellect if he didn't have the physical ability to go with it. This is something that he had seen firsthand in his friend Shikamaru. The boy was insanely smart, a bona fide genius, but he was lazy. If Naruto wanted to become Hokage, he couldn't afford to act like Shikamaru. That was just a disaster in the making. Another thing the system showed was that Naruto had yet to accomplish his daily exercises. He shivered, remembering the last time he failed to finish a quest. Once Team 7 made their way over to Tazuna's house, the Genin placed Kakashi in one of Tazuna's guest rooms to rest and recover his chakra. Despite Naruto wanting to wait and see his master recover, the system gave Naruto a quest that he absolutely had to complete. Naruto was curious about what would happen if he tried surpassing his exercises for the day. Would it show on the screen? If so, what would happen? Maybe he would get another key. Maybe not. Well, it was a possibility. He didn't really know much about the system yet, but it was definitely worth a try. If it worked, he could only imagine how much stronger he would get from the next dungeon. Everyone saw how much stronger he had gotten since the last dungeon. And if he got stronger, it would only help the rest of the team. So Naruto decided that it would be worth it. If his hypothesis was correct, by using dungeons, he could get stronger, faster and more effectively than any conventional training would allow him to. And he could collect some weapons along the way. If there's anything like that poison dagger again in the next dungeon, Kakashi would probably never have to exert himself that much again. There was something else Naruto grabbed in the first dungeon that he hadn't really paid much attention to. A potion of some kind which would harden his skin, but his muscles would suffer from permanent damage. Not really worth it. So, without hesitation, he got down to business and performed his daily exercises, but this time a little more than usual, double of his regular exercises given in the quest. After reaching his quota, Naruto checked the window and sure enough, even though he had done the required amount, it was still recording. Good to know. He kept it up even when it came to his daily run. By the time he finished, he had doubled each of his exercises. The quest changed. A hidden quest had appeared and a key materialized in his hands. An S-rank item, and its name was the Demon's Castle Key. He gulped. So he would be going into an S-rank dungeon. He could deal with this, right? If not, how could he expect to make it in the shinobi world, let alone become Hokage? He prepared a hearthstone though, just in case he needed to get out of there as soon as possible. He gripped the poison dagger tightly as he opened a portal to the new dungeon. He was met by a large, three-headed dog that immediately attacked him. He dodged the attack though. A name written in red appeared above the creature. Apparently its title was Hell's Gatekeeper Cerberus. Great! As if the creature wasn't threatening enough, it just had to have a terrifying name. Naruto continued to dodge several attacks from the monster before slipping up and being slammed into one of the walls. He gasped in pain, but the Cerberus didn't let up. It bit into his leg. Naruto bit down on his tongue to avoid screaming. His window was showing his rapidly declining HP. Thankfully, after it reached a certain point, he used some of the healing items he had gotten from his daily quest. He activated the title he gained from the last dungeon, which would help improve the effectiveness of his attacks against the Cerberus. Well, he hoped that was the case. He lifted up one of his arms and pushed himself off the wall. He took the poison dagger and threw it into one of the gatekeeper's eyes. The monster roared in pain and released its grip on Naruto. He sighed in relief as the wound healed completely. Naruto punched the Cerberus in the gut before pulling out a couple of kunai and stabbed the beast all over its body. It was bleeding all over and fell to its knees. Naruto ran up its back and pulled out the dagger that was now drenched in blood. He watched as the creature's HP fell. Originally, when he had stabbed it with the dagger, all it did was take 1% of its health off. Although, that was happening every second now. The second effect of the dagger, paralysis, seemed to be delayed, since it took a bit longer for Hades' pet to stop moving entirely. It did make fighting the creature a lot easier though in the end. The addition of the kunai wounds throughout its body just made the process even faster. The three-headed hellhound eventually collapsed completely, devoid of any health points. Naruto sighed in relief. He honestly didn't think he was going to win against them here, but thankfully, he was wrong. His rewards came soon after. He jumped up 4 levels, gained a couple of items not really worth mentioning, and another key. Naruto picked it up and the system's description for the item popped up. This was the castle's door key. Interesting. For now though, Naruto decided to leave the dungeon. He couldn't afford to be separated from everyone for too long. They'd get worried and think an enemy kidnapped him or something. When he made it back to Tazuna's house, he immediately went to check up on Kakashi. But it was still the middle of the night, so Sakura grabbed onto Naruto's shoulder, attempting to turn him around. She wasn't expecting the blonde-headed fool's shoulder to feel so tough though, and it was a struggle to spin him around. She did manage to gain his attention though. She explained that Kakashi was still asleep. It would be best not to barge into his room and attempt to wake him up. It would probably disturb his recovery. Naruto understood and backed away from Kakashi's room. Sakura noticed Naruto's ripped clothing though, especially around the legs. It looked like something had been chewing on him, but there were no wounds to speak of. Strange. She was curious as to just what Naruto was doing when he left. It wasn't too important right now though. She decided not to question it and went back to lookout duty. They were going through rotations of who would stay up in order to watch for any intruders. Right now it was her turn. In a few hours she'd wake up Naruto when it was his time. The next morning, Kakashi woke up, with some of his chakra reserves back in the tank. He still wasn't at 100% though. He had to use a cane in order to stand and move around. Despite the handicap, Kakashi brought Team 7 outside in order to train. He planned on teaching them more about chakra control, and one of the most basic examples would be tree climbing. Naruto was about to explain, but Kakashi explained that they would only be using their feet. No hands would be involved in this process. The key to this exercise was focusing chakra into the soles of their feet. Everyone was amazed seeing Kakashi perform this technique, even while still recovering. Each one of the genin went about trying to follow Kakashi's instructions, but only Sakura managed to complete it on her first try. It took a while, but after asking for a couple of pointers from the pink-haired girl, Naruto managed to get the hang of tree climbing. Sasuke was still having trouble though. The training continued for the boys while Sakura was placed in charge of watching over Tazuna. During dinner one night, Team 7 found out why Tazuna was so desperate to build a bridge in the first place. An evil man by the name of Gato had come to the country one day and basically taken it over. No one would dare stand up to him. The last person who did stand against Gato ended up being executed in front of everyone, including Tazuna's young grandson, Inari, who saw the man as a father figure. Tazuna was building the bridge in order to weaken Gato's stranglehold on the country and bring prosperity to their lands through trade. Inari had long since lost hope of defeating Gato and told the ninja not to bother. People who tried being heroes always ended up dying. Naruto called the kid an idiot and promised to show him that there was something worth believing in. The boy had lost a father figure to Gato, but Naruto hardly ever had anyone to begin with. The kid had it bad, and Naruto could relate with him to an extent, but there was no point trying to bring Naruto down. He went through being harassed by the villagers, being forced to practically survive on his own once he learned how to walk, and was even at the bottom of his class, but none of that brought him down. Nothing the kid said would make him give up on his dream. Inari was speechless. He looked down at his plate and waved Naruto off, not really believing what the older boy said. Naruto gripped the table in frustration before storming out to continue his training. He wanted to reach the top of that tree as soon as possible. It was just another obstacle on his way to becoming Hokage. Eventually, after a couple of more days training, he and Sasuke had gained mastery over the technique, with the both of them making their way to the top of the tree. Sasuke was exhausted, but Naruto looked to be in perfect condition. Even Kakashi was surprised at how well Naruto was taking the training. Even with his seemingly endless amount of chakra, he would have expected the boy to at least have broken a sweat at this point, but there wasn't even a bead of sweat on him. The next morning, the group, with the exception of Sasuke, who was left to rest, escorted Tazuna to the construction site so he could get to work on his bridge. Something was off, though. By the time they made it to the designated location, all of Tazuna's men were either dead or dying. This was bad. Did Zabuza live somehow? No, that was impossible. He was poisoned and he died right in front of them. The only way this could be happening was if Zabuza wasn't working alone. A masked shinobi rushed at Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi. They threw senbons at the three of them. Naruto ran forward and blocked the attacks though. He was even faster than last time. Kakashi was in shock. The kid was improving at a phenomenal rate. What was he doing in his free time? Naruto was now in a head-to-head fight with the enemy ninja. They were surprised at the fact Naruto could even keep up with them. No, he wasn't just keeping up. Naruto actually had the edge here. He was pushing Haku back. Impossible! Haku was forced to use his trump card against Naruto. He hated the fact he had to use it so early, and not even on the man that killed Zabuza. Well, the kid was somewhat responsible. He gave Kakashi the weapon that killed Haku's master after all, so it was somewhat acceptable. But the Jonin Kakashi Hatake needed to die if Haku was to avenge Zabuza completely. He leapt away from Naruto to give himself some breathing room and perform his special jutsu. Not long after, Naruto was trapped in a field of ice mirrors. Haku barraged Naruto with a series of senbon. The orange jumpsuit-clad genin tried defending against the attacks, but he wasn't fast enough. Even when he used his title, the odds were still against him. But Kakashi joined the fray, breaking through the ice. Naruto saw an emergency quest pop up in his window. It told him, kill the enemy. He had no choice here, so he accepted it. He lunged at Haku and swiped with his poisonous dagger at them. Swiped at him with the poisonous dagger. Haku dodged and tried creating a clone, but a shuriken was flung at him. Naruto wasn't going to give him the chance to create any other jutsus, and Kakashi was a great asset here. He wasn't giving Haku any time to breathe either. The two of them were rushing Haku for a good while, but the Ice Ninja managed to dodge most of their attacks, until, finally, they slipped up. Naruto managed to nick his shoulder. He froze up. Naruto stabbed him right through the gut. Kakashi, seeing this, relented. Naruto had already done the deed. He didn't think it was possible for a ninja to survive after such a brutal attack with a poisonous blade. Haku, as their village was beginning to fade, uttered his last words. "Zabuza, I'm sorry. I couldn't fulfill my role as a tool for you," Haku cried from underneath the mask. When Gato and his men arrived at the scene to see if Haku managed to put a stop to the bridge builder, they saw the exact opposite, a dead Haku and Tazuna working on the bridge, safe and sound. Just as he was about to order his men to kill everyone here, Naruto sped through the entire crowd of gangsters. They all collapsed on the floor, writhing in pain, unable to move, and they began to die not long after. Now it was only Gato. The man began sweating as Naruto's blade made its way to his neck. "Give us one reason why we shouldn't just kill you now!" Gato wasn't expecting for something like this to happen. He was a stuttering mess. He was sweating profusely. He begged for his life and offered anything in return. "Anything you say?" Gato nodded, as he felt the blade begin to inch away from his neck. "Then why not use your resources in order to build this village and make it prosper?" Kakashi suggested. Gato agreed to their terms, and over the next few days, Team 7 actually saw more resources being brought into the village. Kakashi told Tazuna to keep them informed on Gato's actions, in case the man decided to try something sneaky after they left. Tazuna answered with a thumbs up. Team 7 regrouped with Sasuke after the whole fiasco with Haku, and he told them about how he had protected Tazuna's family from some bandits when they left him behind. When he heard about Naruto's actions, though, he couldn't help but be jealous. Naruto was making too much progress, while he hadn't even unlocked his Sharingan yet. A new fire was lit in Sasuke's heart that day. It was small for now, but eventually, it would consume him. For now, no one was any the wiser though. Team 7 left the Land of Waves once the bridge was built, and reported the success of their mission to Hiruzen. Naruto even brags that Tazuna had named the bridge after him, earning a proud chuckle out of Hiruzen. They didn't give Hiruzen every little detail though. Some would be a secret between just the four of them. Naruto remembered the key he had after his fight with the Cerberus. It never really left his mind. He was curious about what sort of dungeon it led to, and what he would gain from it. He snuck out in the middle of the night in order to complete the dungeon. He wanted to get even stronger after all. A portal opened up and he walked through it. The entrance to it closed behind him. He had no idea what to expect from this, but he would take whatever challenges lay ahead in his stride. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in the story thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few things I'd like to go over before the video ends. First, we've got a primary channel called We the Celestials. We the Celestials does basically what we do here already, but their content is centered around the crazy world and lore of My Hero Academia. So please, check us out over there if you're feeling in the mood for a roller coaster of quirky content. We also have another relative to our channel, Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge for all kinds of series, guaranteed. I'd like to let you all know on behalf of We the Celestials that I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. If you're perhaps interested in what we do here at WTC, then I would like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members over 16 years old. You can find us on our Discord, which you can locate in the description below. Our Discord is an all-round fantastic place to be. Whether you're just a fan or looking to join our band of misfits, all you gotta do is hit up the recruitment server and sign up for whatever category of work you're interested in. We're always looking for new members to join us. Well, that's it for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have a great day.